growing up in the Bay for me was a pretty unique experience simply because I grew up in an interracial family.
Mm,
But for us, it was really just about having journeys. Like
hmm,
that was always about adventures.
yeah.
So on the weekends we really didn't know where we were going to end up. Like that was always that was always the fun of it. When my dad would come home from practice, it was always okay, get in the car.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it would be Northern California,
Mm,
sometimes it would be Central California. My mom always leaned more towards Central California, so
hmm,
that was the place that we always gravitated towards because we just found that people were super engaging, and I
yeah.
was the inquisitive kid of always having the follow-up question for
You
everybody.
were like, but
Yeah,
why?
exactly. What's that? Tell me more. And I really loved that, and
Yeah.
so getting to go down to Los Olivos and learn about my mom's favorite wines and this terroir word that everybody talked about all the time. So it was a lot of fun for me to really dive into that and figure out why my mom liked this Merlot that everybody talked about all the
Huh.
time. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Like at that time, like, how early do you remember like starting to learn and like really think about like I actually kind of know a little bit about wine?
I mean, really, it was just about what my mom was smelling at that point. It was like I would smell what was in her glass, and I was like, I mean, I think I'm smelling tobacco. Is that a thing? I smell a cigarette. And she was like, that's not attractive. Don't
She's
ever
like,
say that again.
she's like,
Yeah, I was
no.
like, don't ever say that again. Like,
She's like, not
that's
it.
not a note anybody wants to hear. Don't ever say that. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was always just fun for me to watch other
Mm,
people taste.
hmm.
And I always wanted to figure out why some people behaved the way that they did in the tasting room because I was like, I don't feel like you need to engage with people in this way. It can be a little bit more welcoming than what it is. So, yeah, it was. I always loved watching how my parents would interact with people in the tasting room, and my dad, being the social butterfly that he is, always meeting not just the person next to us that was tasting. We would be friends with 60 people in the room by the end of the day. So, it was always fun for me.
So maybe you get a little bit of that from your dad,
Maybe a little,
just a little
maybe
bit.
a little bit. Yeah.
So while you are the president, El Presidente, right now, um, uh, you didn't start your career path that way. Like you
Mm-mm.
actually started your career path very differently. You
Yeah,
were studying to be an opera singer,
correct.
and then you found your way into wine.
Yeah.
Take us a little bit on that journey of how that happened.
Yeah, so I like to say that music was my first love.
Mm.
And opera was the thing for me that I thought was going to be it. My dad used to take me on daddy daughter dates,
Mm.
and he took me to see Madame Butterfly at San Francisco Opera. And
Wow.
I was like, this woman just died 4 times on stage and came back to life. I want to do that. And so it was like, that was the thing for me. And I started training professionally when I was in 6th grade, and we
Wow.
just went from there. And it was pretty great. I went to college for it at Chapman University,
Mm.
and that's what we thought I was going to keep on doing. And the week after I graduated from college, I got hit by a drunk driver and
Oh
found
wow.
out that I had thyroid cancer.
Yikes.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a big pivot,
Yeah, like
where it
life
was like,
is
exactly. So it was
wow.
like, okay, is music still going to be the thing?
Mm.
I was very fortunate where we had surgeons and doctors that everybody was like, you can still
You can
do
still do
this.
this, yeah.
Yeah. It just ended up being a little bit more challenging for me
Mm.
than we thought. So it was like, okay, do we sit here and say, oh my God, why me?
Yeah.
Or what's next?
Hmm.
And so during that downtime was really when we had the opportunity to start looking at things and say, well, what else do I enjoy? What else
Mm.
sparks joy for me?
Mhm.
And that was where, my mom kept saying, like, well, you do like this wine thing. Like you are pretty curious about it. So why don't we start diving into that a little bit?
Yeah.
And so that's when I started taking the WSET courses and really reading into that and taking the courses and really appreciating the science behind it, but
Mhm.
then also getting into the service side of it and learning that you could really make wine so approachable and so much fun.
Mm.
I was like, okay, I think that this is going to be my
Kind of
new
my thing.
thing. Yeah.
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 I think it's I think it's incredible that you were actually able to make that pivot in such a nice way, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times when we speak to people about kind of those transitions in life, right? Something like that can really set you back,
Yeah.
right? How much of that was about kind of that support system you had around you?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, my family has always had the mentality of repurposing experiences of like this is never it for you.
Mm,
So I think that that's always been the fact that we keep an eye on the fact that there's a blessing in the lesson, you know?
yeah.
And so that for me was I'm so thankful for the experiences that I had with opera and the fact that music still brings me so much joy. There's never a moment that I look at it and I'm like, oh God, I
Yeah.
can never do this again. You know, it's like
Yeah.
every time I listen to it and I see people perform, I am so thankful that they get to do that. And I'm so grateful to see them on stage.
Right.
But I love wine so much, and I am so thankful that I get to share my love of wine with so many people now.
That's
So it's like the fact that I get to keep on with something else that I love is just
it's
even better
wonderful.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of wine, like when, as you started to transition into this career path, were there like was there a certain type of wine that you would gravitate towards? Like I think I read like you were naturally gravitating towards like Willamette Valley wine.
Yeah. So in my classes, every blind tasting, I gave Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley specifically the highest markings.
Huh.
So my mentor was like, I feel like you need to follow that. Like he was like, I feel like that's a sign for you. And yeah, I came up here with my mom and we tasted out a couple of places and the first place that I ended up working at Anaya Vineyards was
Mm,
one of the first places that we tasted at, and I was like, yeah,
huh.
this is one of the spots I want to experience.
What was it about the wine?
It was just so expressive to me,
Mm,
and the story that it told, and every wine that I tried from the valley was so different,
yeah.
and it told a different story, and I loved that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I moved out here from Boston, originally from Louisiana.
Hmm.
Knew nothing about wine, but I just slowly but surely, it's like every meal is like I gotta have wine. I choose it
Exactly.
over anything else,
Yeah, you have to. You
and
have
we
to.
learn so much about like where like the ground and all the soil and like the equilateral and all these things
Exactly, and
here,
the
like the
AVAs are so
equator.
different. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yes, yes.
So, as you were beginning your career in wine and as you've advanced your career, did you have any examples of folks that look like you in that path, or like how are you getting mentorship?
So I was fortunate that people really wanted to guide me
Mm,
and assist in my growth and learning here
yeah.
because again I am the inquisitive person, so there was a lot of like, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
What's your choice? So like I was never afraid to ask that question. But I was also lucky that I connected with Bertoni Faustin when I first
Hmm.
moved up here at Abbey Creek
Abbey Creek.
Vineyard,
Yep.
and so he was one that really did champion for me, which was great. And then the winemaker at Anaya Vineyards, he was one because I was still studying for my exams at the time. He would come out at the end of my days when I would be working in the tasting room and lay out a bunch of bottles in paper bags and start blind testing me right there and say, "What
Wow.
are you tasting?" And I was like, I, j- I just worked for 10 hours. I don't want to do this right now. Like, it's like, so it was great because they all really pushed me because they knew I believe what I was capable of,
Yeah.
and said, we're going to shoot for the stars because we know you can do it.
Yeah.
So get it done.
Wow.
So, yeah, no, I was very lucky. And, I'm very fortunate that they're still a part of my life and
Mm.
still pushing me.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about having folks that are either mentors and
Mhm.
advocates that, because you're not gonna always feel your best every day,
Right.
right? And there's
Right.
some days that I can imagine what you're doing after working 10 hours is really hard to then go focus on trying to study notes
Right.
for wine,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so to have those people there is kind of like it's enough to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They give you that extra bit of energy, which is really nice. Yeah. And, it's always, there's no excuse.
You know,
So,
you
yeah.
need help with energy?
You're
No.
right. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
I think what's also interesting is while you've also been trailblazing and amazing career of your own, you've also been focused on thinking about folks other than yourself, right? And so I know you've founded this organization, Our Legacy Harvested.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and like what was the inspiration about behind that, and what's kind of some of your goals with that?
Yeah, so our Legacy Harvested I established last summer during the protests. My initial my initial start for that was just to get interns of color out here
Hmm.
involved in the wine industry and just advancing and empowering them. Didn't matter what walk of life they were in for the wine industry, if they were curious about it, whatever. I just wanted to get them started and get them some mentorship out here.
Right.
From there, it really grew into I want to have a campus
Yeah.
where we can really do something out here.
Hmm.
The Willamette Valley AVA did something really spectacular during the protests and made a declaration to say, like, we are a welcoming and inclusive place,
Mm.
and we want it to be known that we are going to set the standard here.
Hmm.
And I think with that, we have a really unique opportunity. And Our Legacy Harvested is here to kind of partner all of that together,
Yeah.
which I think is something unique that we can do. And at Vidon, our big thing is about community. And so if we can be the thing, the catalyst that partners all of that together, where we can provide that mentorship and partner them with different wineries and things, why not do that?
Yeah,
So
I mean, you're talking about creating a pipeline now, right?
exactly,
And that's the thing
exactly.
that changes everything. I think we were talking back in the back,
Yeah,
you can't be what you can't see. And so
exactly.
you literally have you and then all the support system,
Yeah,
you can literally in a decade or so transform what it looks like.
yeah, yeah.
How important was it for Willamette Valley to actually vocalize what they vocalized around the movement?
I think it was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, because not a lot of people did that. And even if you are doing it through your actions, which I think is fantastic, even just putting those words out there goes such a long way,
Mm.
you know?
Hmm.
So even putting that on your platform I think is just huge because people see that, with social media, it goes so far.
Yeah.
So people see that and immediately they're like, okay, I know that I can come into this space and I'm going to be safe and I'm going to be welcomed into this community.
Hmm.
And I know that I have a support system here.
Yeah.
And so I think that that speaks volumes for us.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super excited about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, can I come intern?
Yeah.
So speaking of kind of this internship program,
Mhm.
which is kicking off next spring. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about like, what are you looking for? Like, what are like the ideal candidates?
So honestly, we're looking for any level. So
Mm.
anybody that wants to start, whether it's direct to consumer or if you want to get your hands dirty out in production,
Hmm.
it's really what you want to learn. We want to help facilitate that experience for you. So our job is really to help guide that for you. And we will find that mentorship for you. We will find that job for you. We provide housing for them.
Wow.
Yeah. So we get them out here. We help with that education. We help with that mentorship. We provide a vehicle for them. So it's all of these things that they have. And we really help build that community.
Hmm.
And that's always the biggest thing. We want you to come out here and not just have that support system, but you have a job. So it's like you'll have that job for 4 months. But then also after that, we hope that you will have that community. And from there, you can build that experience for yourself.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, especially when you're coming to a new place, right?
Hmm.
It's like it's one thing to come for opportunity, but the reason you stay is typically because of the community you've
Exactly
built,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Like you've been here for 6 years. Like
Yeah.
you're here not only because of your work, but I'm sure because of the network you've been able to build,
Yeah.
right? Like
Exactly.
I mean, I think we talked about your screen door that day.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
And like you met someone,
I
like
did.
like a career opportunity.
Yeah.
Like
That's how I got my first job.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that. Like I've been here for a couple years. I stay because of a multitude of those reasons,
Right.
right? Like so that's super great.
Yeah.
Pivoting a little bit, you were recently selected as one of the wine enthusiasts 40 under 40, right?
Yes.
Um, for your impact in the wine industry.
Yes.
What does that recognition mean to you? And then I want you to also think about what you feel it might mean to the industry.
Well, that got me in the feels. Okay. For me, see, and my parents are sitting there, and now I'm starting to cry. Sorry. um, for me, it's more of the pride for you know, sharing that with my family. Dang it, y'all. Sorry.
Take your time.
um, because for me, it's just about honoring my family. That's the biggest thing for me. And then carrying on that legacy for what my grandparents have done
Mm.
and what they have accomplished so far. And the fact that I can carry that legacy on into Oregon and into the wine industry here, I think makes me really excited. And I know that, sorry,
You okay? You
um,
okay?
uh, I know that I have made my grandfather very happy
Yeah.
and proud of me. And so it makes me very excited to see um, what I'm doing for the Bramlett name. So that makes me happy. But for the industry, it just makes me excited to see what we can do as the global majority.
Yeah.
Because I think that the impact that we're going to make up here is going to move mountains. And so I think just all encompassing with all of the wineries, with the nonprofits that we have up here,
Hmm.
with the wine industry nonprofits, like everybody is wanting to do something so spectacular up here. So I think we're going to do some major stuff up here, and it's a lot of attention is going to be seen.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I think one, I think it's so special.
yeah.
Like
Sorry.
it's you're no, you don't need to apologize for that. I grew up in a single parent household, right? Black mom,
Yeah,
and it's just this incredible resilience, and it's incredible to see you in that role. But I also want to tell you, just like take space for you too,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
it's enough.
yeah,
It's enough.
yeah.
um, so as you think about kind of that future, in your vision, what does that future of the wine industry look like here with more diverse, more black and brown folks involved? Like, what does that look like, kind of day to day?
I mean, I think for us, it's going to be the norm.
Mm,
It's something that people are going to see, and it's not going to look like anything else but the ordinary.
hmm.
And I think that that's the beautiful thing about it, right? It's like, I always say that because of the fact that I grew up in an interracial family, it was like, I never knew that that was weird until I went to college and people were like, "What do you mean your family's mixed?"
Like,
And
yeah.
I was like, "My grandma's white." What? Like, I was like, I don't understand why that's complicated. Yeah, so I mean, and I think that it's it's already such a a normal topic up here anyways,
Yeah.
and I think that the more we keep integrating it into the conversation and the more people see it as a part of the norm, and the more we change the guard, it's going to be, yeah,
It's gonna be
just
incredible.
yeah.